Long before the glint of a coin ever caught an Irish eye, the people of this island had their own ways of measuring wealth. This was a world built on exchange, on the tangible value of goods and services. A farmer with a surplus of grain might trade it for a well-made axe from the local smith. A fine piece of pottery could be exchanged for a warm woolen cloak. This system, known as barter, was the lifeblood of early Irish society. It was a personal, direct form of commerce where the worth of an item was negotiated face-to-face, relying on mutual need and trust. It was a system that worked for thousands of years, shaping communities and creating networks of interdependence across the landscape. As society grew more complex, so too did its need for a more standardized form of value. The limitations of barter became clear. What if the blacksmith didn't need any more grain? A new solution was needed, one that could store value and be widely accepted. This is where metal stepped in. Gold, silver, and bronze, precious and durable, began to serve as a medium of exchange. These weren't coins as we know them today, with faces and denominations stamped upon them. Instead, they were often beautiful objects in their own right. Torques, bracelets, and rings, crafted with incredible skill. Their value was based on their weight and the purity of the metal. These early metal objects were more than just primitive money. They were symbols of power, status, and connection to the spiritual world. A chieftain might wear a magnificent gold torch around his neck, a clear and visible statement of his authority and wealth. These items were also used in important social rituals, perhaps as bride prices in marriage alliances, or as tributes paid to a more powerful king. Hoards of these precious metal objects have been found buried in the Irish soil, carefully hidden away in bogs and under stones. Archaeologists believe these may have been offerings to the gods, a way of returning wealth to the earth and ensuring prosperity for the community. So this wasn't just about economics, it was about a whole way of life. The weight of gold in your hand was not just purchasing power, it was a connection to the ancestors, a symbol of your place in the world, and a link to the very gods who governed the seasons and the fertility of the land. The transition from simple barter to the use of precious metals was a monumental step. It laid the groundwork for the more formal systems of currency that were to come, but it did so in a way that was deeply embedded in the culture and beliefs of ancient Ireland, long before the first coin was ever struck. The idea of coinage, of small, standardized discs of metal used for trade, eventually arrived on Irish shores. It was a concept carried on the tides of trade and migration from the continent. The earliest coins found in Ireland, dating to around the 1st century BC, were not made here. They were imports, brought by Celtic tribes like the Belgae from Gaul. These first coins were often beautiful, abstract pieces of art. They were typically made of gold and featured stylized designs inspired by the coins of the Greek and Roman worlds, particularly the gold staters of Philip II of Macedon. But the Celtic artists were not mere copyists. They transformed these classical designs into something uniquely their own. You can see it in the designs. A recognizable human head on a Greek coin might become a swirling pattern of hair and abstract features on a Celtic one. A horse might be broken down into a series of dynamic, flowing lines and crescents. These were not meant to be realistic portraits. Instead, they were powerful expressions of Celtic art, filled with symbolism and energy. The designs are often so abstract that they seem more like intricate patterns than pictures. It's a glimpse into the mind of the Celtic artist, a world where the spiritual and the decorative were intertwined. These coins were small, portable canvases for a vibrant artistic tradition. What were these first coins used for? It's a question that archaeologists still debate. Given their high value, often made of solid gold, it's unlikely they were used for everyday purchases, like buying a loaf of bread. Instead, they probably served more significant purposes. They might have been used by kings and chieftains to pay mercenaries, to make political payments to allies, or to display their immense wealth and power. A leader who could distribute gold coins was a leader of great standing. They were a tool of politics and prestige, a way of cementing loyalty and projecting authority across the land. Furthermore, just like the gold rings and torques that came before them, these coins may have had a ritualistic or ceremonial function. Some have been found in hoards buried in sacred sites, suggesting they could have been used as offerings to the gods. The act of burying precious gold was a powerful gesture, a way of communicating with the other world. So, these first coins in Ireland were a fascinating mix. They were a new technology of trade and influence, but they were also deeply rooted in the older traditions of art, power, and religious belief that had defined the island for centuries. They were the bridge between an older world and a new one. The arrival of the Anglo-Normans in the 12th century marked a profound change in every aspect of Irish life, and currency was no exception. With them, they brought a more organized, centralized approach to governance, and that included the minting of coins. Around the year 1185, Prince John, as Lord of Ireland, established the first official mint in Dublin. This was a pivotal moment. For the first time, coins were being struck in Ireland under royal authority, intended for widespread circulation. These were no longer the abstract gold pieces of the Celtic chiefs. These were practical silver coins, designed for a growing economy of towns, markets, and taxes. The design of these first official Irish coins was deliberately political. The earliest pennies and halfpennies featured a forward-facing portrait of John, surrounded by the inscription Iohannes Dominus Hiberni, John, Lord of Ireland. This was a clear statement of power. Every time someone used one of these coins, they were holding a symbol of Norman authority in their hand. The reverse side of the coin typically showed a cross within a circle, with the name of the moneyer and the mint, such as Rodbird on Dive for Robert in Dublin. This design served a practical purpose too. The cross made it easy to cut the penny into halves or quarters for smaller change. As Norman influence grew, so did the minting of Irish coins. Mints were established in other key towns like Waterford, Limerick, and Carrickfergus. The style of the coins evolved with each successive monarch. Under King Henry III, the design changed to a portrait enclosed within a triangle, a feature unique to Irish coinage of that period. This triangle is a key marker for collectors today, instantly identifying the coin's origin. The coins were a vital part of the Anglo-Norman administration. They were used to pay soldiers, fund construction projects like castles and cathedrals, and collect taxes from the populace, both Irish and settler. These coins tell a story of conquest and administration. They were an essential tool for integrating Ireland into the wider Anglo-Norman economic sphere. They standardized trade, replacing the patchwork of local barter and metal exchange with a single, royally sanctioned currency. While the native Irish kingdoms, on the fringes of Norman control, may have continued with their older traditions for a time, the silver penny became the dominant force in the island's economy. It was a tangible, everyday reminder of the new political reality, a piece of silver that carried the weight of a kingdom and the face of its king. The Tudor and Stuart periods from the 16th to the 17th centuries were times of immense turmoil and change in Ireland, and the coinage of the era reflects this perfectly. It was during the reign of Henry VIII that one of the most enduring symbols of Ireland first appeared on its coins, the harp. In 1534, Henry declared himself King of Ireland, and to mark this new status, he ordered the minting of a new series of coins. These harp groats featured the coat of arms of the Tudor monarchy on one side and a simple, elegant harp on the other. This was the first time the harp was used as the official emblem of the Kingdom of Ireland on its currency. This symbol was incredibly powerful and would endure for centuries. The harp was already a well-established Gaelic symbol associated with poets, chiefs, and the very soul of the island. By placing it on his coins, Henry was attempting to co-opt this powerful native symbol for his own royal authority. It was a clever piece of political branding, an attempt to create a currency that felt both Irish and royal. Throughout the reigns of his successors, like Elizabeth I, the harp remained a constant feature on Irish coinage, even as the relationship between the English crown and the Irish people grew more fraught with rebellion and conflict. This conflict reached a dramatic peak in the late 17th century with the Williamite War. When the Catholic King James II landed in Ireland in 1689 to try and reclaim his throne from William of Orange, he was desperately short of funds to pay his army. His solution was ingenious and audacious. He issued gun money. This emergency currency was made from melted-down cannons, church bells, kitchen utensils, any scrap brass or base metal that could be found. The coins were stamped with the month of issue as well as the year, with the promise that they would be redeemed for proper silver and gold once James was victorious. Of course, James II was defeated at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, and the gun money became virtually worthless overnight. It stands as a fascinating testament to a desperate time, a currency born of war and necessity. Coins were also struck during other conflicts, like the Confederate Wars of the 1640s, where various factions minted their own money of necessity to pay their troops. These crude, often hastily made coins tell a story of a divided Ireland in the grip of civil war. They show how, in times of crisis, the power to create money becomes a vital tool for any authority trying to assert its control. Following the turmoil of the 17th century, Ireland was brought more firmly under direct British control. The Irish Parliament in Dublin was eventually abolished by the Act of Union in 1801, and Ireland became part of the United Kingdom. During this period, the story of Irish coinage becomes, well, a bit more complex. For a time, there were no official coins struck specifically for Ireland. This actually created a severe shortage of small change for everyday transactions, a problem that commerce and private enterprise rushed to fill. Merchants and businesses began to issue their own private tokens, often made of copper, which could be used locally. These merchant tokens were a vital part of the 18th century Irish economy. They were decorated with the emblems of the business that issued them, advertisements for their wares or local landmarks. You know, they were a practical solution to a government failure, a real grassroots response to the needs of the people. Alongside these, another interesting series of coins appeared, the Hiberno-Norse halfpennies and farthings. One famous issue, struck in 1722 to 1724 and known as Wood's halfpence, was produced by an English ironmaster named William Wood, who had been granted the patent. This caused a huge political scandal, as many in Ireland saw it as an English project being forced upon them without their consent. The famous writer Jonathan Swift, author of Gulliver's Travels, published a series of pamphlets called The Drapier's Letters, fiercely attacking the new coinage. He argued it was of poor quality and undermined Ireland's economic autonomy. The public outcry was so immense that the patent was eventually withdrawn. This episode really shows how coins could become a flashpoint for political and national feeling. The coins themselves featured the seated figure of Hibernia, a female personification of Ireland, holding a harp. This image, a sister to Britannia, became a recurring motif, representing Ireland within the broader context of the British Empire. Even after the Act of Union, when Ireland used the same pounds, shillings and pence as the rest of the United Kingdom, the harp symbol did not disappear entirely. It found a new home on the reverse of some British coins, such as the farthing and later the florin. The harp was also incorporated into the royal coat of arms of the United Kingdom, where it remains to this day, representing Ireland. So, even when Ireland no longer had its own separate official currency, its most powerful national symbol, the harp endured a quiet but constant reminder of the island's distinct identity on the very currency of the empire. The birth of the Irish Free State in 1922 was a moment of profound national significance. After centuries of struggle, Ireland had achieved a measure of independence. One of the most important tasks for the new state was to establish its own distinct institutions, and that included creating its own currency. A special committee was formed, chaired by the poet W.B. Yeats, to decide what the new coins should look like. This was a chance to break from the past, to move away from the portraits of British monarchs that had adorned the coinage for so long and create something uniquely Irish. Yeats and his committee decided against using portraits of modern political leaders. They felt that such figures could be divisive and would become dated. Instead, they wanted symbols that were timeless, that connected the new state with Ireland's rich natural and agricultural heritage. They made an inspired choice. The coins would feature a series of animals important to the Irish economy and countryside, with the harp, the ancient symbol of the nation, on the other side. This decision was visionary, creating a set of coins that was both beautiful and deeply meaningful, linking the modern state to its ancient roots. The designs were created by the English artist Percy Metcalfe, and they are widely regarded as masterpieces of 20th century coinage. Each denomination was given its own animal. The half-crown featured a magnificent horse, the florin a graceful salmon, and the shilling a powerful bull. The smaller coins showcased a wolfhound for the sixpence, a hare for the threepence, a hen with chicks for the penny, and a woodcock in flight for the farthing. These Barnyard Series coins, as they became affectionately known, were introduced in 1928. They were an immediate success, loved by the Irish people for their beauty and their celebration of the natural world. The coins were inscribed in Irish, with Saostat Éireann, meaning Irish Free State, and the denomination. The harp on the obverse was not just any harp. It was modelled on the famous 14th century Brian Boru harp, housed in Trinity College, Dublin, a tangible link to Gaelic Ireland. These coins were a powerful statement of cultural independence. They represented a fresh start, a currency for a free people looking to the future while honouring the deep past. They circulated for decades, becoming a familiar and cherished part of Irish daily life, a symbol of a nation confidently forging its own path. The world of currency underwent a major change in the latter half of the 20th century, and Ireland was part of this global shift. In 1971, following the lead of the United Kingdom, Ireland decimalised its currency. The old system of pounds, shillings and pence, with its 12 pennies to a shilling and 20 shillings to a pound, was swept away. In its place came a simpler system where £1 was equal to 100 new pence. This was a huge undertaking that required a massive public information campaign. Everyone had to learn a new way of thinking about money, and for a generation, the old LSD system lingered in memory and language. For the new decimal coins, the spirit of the 1928 series was retained. The artist Gabriel Hayes was commissioned to adapt Percy Metcalfe's beloved animal designs for the new denominations and to create new ones. The woodcock, salmon and bull all made the transition to the new 50 pence, 10 pence and 5 pence coins. The designs were simplified and modernized slightly, but they were instantly recognizable. This provided a sense of continuity during a time of great change. Even as the monetary system was being revolutionized, the familiar animals on the coins provided a link to the past, a comforting reminder of the nation's established identity. The harp, of course, remained on the obverse. This period also saw the Central Bank of Ireland begin to issue special commemorative coins to mark significant events and anniversaries. These were often made of precious metals like silver and gold, and were aimed at collectors. One of the most important early issues was the 1966 10-shilling coin. This was the first Irish commemorative coin, and was struck to mark the 50th anniversary of the Easter Rising. It featured a portrait of the revolutionary leader Patrick Pearse on one side, and a sculpture of the dying hero Cuchulainn on the other, a powerful and emotive piece of nationalist symbolism. Over the years, many other commemorative coins followed. In 1988, a special 50 pence coin was issued to celebrate the Dublin millennium. In the 1990s, the central bank began issuing a series of gold coins known as the punt, or Irish gold. These beautiful coins were legal tender, but were primarily intended for investors and collectors, showcasing aspects of Irish heritage and mythology. These special issues allowed Ireland to tell stories through its coinage, to celebrate its history, art and culture in a tangible and lasting way, creating miniature monuments in silver and gold that would be treasured for generations. The next great chapter in the story of Irish money began on January 1st, 2002. On that day, along with 11 other European nations, Ireland retired its national currency, the Irish pound, and adopted the euro. This was a monumental economic and cultural moment. The familiar animal coins and colourful banknotes that had been a part of daily life for over 70 years were phased out. For a few weeks, both currencies circulated side by side in a massive logistical operation as the entire nation transitioned to the new coins and notes. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another. Under the rules of the Eurozone, all euro coins have a common European side, which shows a map of Europe. However, each member state is allowed to create its own unique design for the other side, the national side. When it came time for Ireland to choose its design, the decision was simple and almost unanimous. There was only one symbol that could truly represent the nation on this new European stage: the harp. The same iconic Brian Boru harp that had graced Irish coins since the birth of the Free State was chosen for all 8 denominations of Ireland's euro coins, from the 1-cent piece to the 2 euro coin. The design, created by Jarlath Hayes, is elegant and clear. It features the harp, the word Éire, the Irish name for Ireland, and the 12 stars of the European Union encircling it. By choosing a single, powerful symbol for all its coins, Ireland made a strong statement. The harp connected the new currency to a long history stretching back through the Free State, through the years of British rule, all the way to the Tudor groats of Henry VIII. It was a symbol of continuity, resilience, and enduring national identity, now taking its place within a wider European family. It declared that even within this new union, Ireland's unique heritage remained central. Since the introduction of the euro, Ireland has continued the tradition of issuing special commemorative coins, primarily high-value silver and gold pieces, for collectors. More significantly, it has also issued special circulating 2 euro coins to mark important events. For example, in 2016, a coin was issued to commemorate the centenary of the Easter Rising, featuring a statue of Hiberno from the top of the GPO building. In 2019, another was released to mark 100 years of the Dáil Éireann, the Irish Parliament. These coins circulate across Europe, acting as tiny ambassadors for Irish history and culture. The long and fascinating history of Irish coinage has produced some incredibly rare and valuable treasures that are highly sought after by collectors around the world. These coins are not just valuable because of their scarcity, they are prized because of the unique stories they tell about pivotal moments in Ireland's past. A coin's worth is often tied to a historical mistake, a political upheaval, or a moment of crisis. For collectors, owning one of these pieces is like holding a tangible piece of history, a direct link to a bygone era and the people who lived through it. Among the most famous of Ireland's rare coins is the 1943 florin. During World War II, metal was scarce, and the Irish Central Bank experimented with different alloys. A tiny number of florins from 1943 were mistakenly struck in pure nickel instead of the standard nickel alloy. These coins have a distinct bright appearance. It is believed that only a handful exist today, making them exceptionally rare. Finding a 1943 florin in your change would be like winning the lottery. They are valued at many thousands of euros, a testament to a small error made during the difficult years of the emergency, as the war was known in Ireland. Another legendary rarity is the 1938 penny. For some reason, while the designs for the new coinage of the 1937 Constitution were being prepared, it seems only 2 pennies were minted with the 1938 date before the design was slightly altered. These 2 coins were thought lost for many years until they resurfaced in the 1970s. Their existence is a numismatic mystery, and their value is astronomical, easily placing them among the most valuable Irish coins in existence. They are a collector's dream, a whispered legend in the world of coin collecting that happens to be real. Beyond these 20th century rarities, coins from earlier periods can also be incredibly valuable. The Ormond money, pieces of silver cut from plates and stamped during the 1640s siege of Dublin, are highly prized for their connection to the Irish Confederate Wars. The infamous gun money of James II, especially the larger denominations in good condition, tells a dramatic story of war and failed ambition. These coins are more than currency. They are artifacts of resilience, identity, and conflict. They are a metallic timeline of the Irish story, from the struggles of war to the quiet pride of a new nation, each coin a small but powerful monument to its time.